Welcome, everyone, to the Pro Wrestling Report for Monday night, July 13th, 2009. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead and the Cause, coming to you here from the studios in downtown Milwaukee, coming off the heels of WWE Raw. Of course, we're going to talk about that, but also this week we've got a detailed discussion about the Brock Lesnar Frank Mir fight from just this past weekend, UFC 100. We're going to give you some comments from Brock about that matchup. Also, we've got the news desk, an update on the PWR Fantasy Draft. Why is TNA scaling back their road events? We go in-depth on Dolph Ziggler, talk about SmackDown last week, Beat the Meat this week in history, a preview of TNA's Victory Road, and some controversy surrounding Hulk Hogan, along with the revisiting of the comment or the question that we brought up last week, which was, who is better, Hulk Hogan or John Cena? This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. You can join us, folks, several ways. The phone lines, 414-276-ESPN. Again, that's 276-ESPN all over southeastern Wisconsin or all over the world at 1-800-990-ESPN. Again, that's 1-800-990-ESPN. We're also live at pwrshow.com where the chatmosphere is going wild, brother.
You know, I almost said something, and I was like, you know what? Today is a new day, Frank. I just won't bring it up anymore.
What's that? Which gives truth to the credence that if you ignore a child, they'll stop misbehaving.
That's not true at all. Have you just met me? Have you just
not.
met me?
Unfortunately not. Let's talk about
Lent. What?
Let's talk about the Raw that was tonight, where Seth Green was the guest host. We go from last week's great performance by Ted DiBiase, Sr., to this week's performance by Seth Green.
No, you're saying it was a great performance by Ted DiBiase, which I don't think is arguable here. I think we all enjoyed...
Isn't everything arguable?
Possibly. I think we all enjoyed the $1 Million Man on Raw. Correct? Damien?
Absolutely.
Frank? We all enjoyed it.
Without a doubt.
To say Seth Green was not enjoyable would be a lie. I enjoyed parts of what he did.
You enjoyed parts of what he did. I enjoyed nothing. Frank?
Absolutely nothing. It was boring. He did
boring. Nothing. That sounds similar to the Goldberg chant. Goldberg.
And maybe you're a mark.
And maybe I'm out of it because I don't watch Robot Chicken or I know
Frank, how old are you?
23.
24 tomorrow.
Liar. Liar.
So there are
He's
fans
living in a gangster's paradise.
There are fans out there that they thought it was cool, and I was waiting for some kind of Austin Powers thing to come out.
No, well, Austin Powers is dated. Robot Chicken is what they were there to promote.
Dated. ZZ Top's going to be the host next week. You want to talk dated?
ZZ Top
is the host next week. The guest host of Raw.
It was just tonight.
If you watched Raw, you would have seen that they announced it.
They did, because I swear I just heard Cody Rhodes say, my dad's coming next week.
He said he heard that his dad was possibly going to be.
Sorry, some of us have to drive. We don't live here in the studio. Some of us have to drive in for the big show.
But in the beginning, Triple H just said, you know him from here, you know him from Austin Powers. So I was kind of waiting for him to do something or say something.
Austin Powers is
you know what? Going into it,
it
wasn't horrible. I'm like, all right, Seth Green's cool. This will be all right. But the minute he walked down to the ring and stepped into the ring with Trips, I didn't realize what a runt he was.
Seth Green is about 5'6", max.
It looked funny. They put him in the match. They put him in the main event.
That's why they put him up against toe-to-toe with Hornswoggle. He looked tall.
But here's the fan challenge for the night. Here's what I want to get phone calls on and correspondence in the chatmosphere on. Who should be guest host? We saw Ted DiBiase last week, Seth Green this week. Where should they go from here?
You mentioned the first. You forgot one. You said you saw the first. Who was the first?
Donald Trump.
No.
Well, technically he was.
No, he wasn't because he was the owner. He wasn't the guest host. Who was the first guest host? You don't even pay attention, do you? Do you?
Don't you dare sit there and tell me I don't pay attention. I just watched all 2 hours of Raw. You watched 10 minutes of it.
Batista.
And you're doing a 2-hour wrestling show.
Batista.
I forget everything Batista does.
This is leading
boring.
This is leading up, in my opinion. I might be wrong on this. They're leading up to something that goes to SummerSlam, with a guest host maybe 2 weeks before then or a week before SummerSlam is possibly someone big that hasn't been on in a while. Maybe it's Steve Austin. Maybe it's
Maybe
it's someone that promote. It's one of their bigger pay-per-views. something like that.
Well,
I like the idea because I've always liked the celebrity aspect of it. I liked it more for WrestleMania, but I like the celebrity aspect of it. In this case, to me, tonight just didn't work.
At the very least, Damien, go ahead.
Call us at 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. Who should be guest host on Raw in the upcoming weeks and why?
At the very least, though, they did not make Seth Green WCW Heavyweight Champion.
Oh, my God, if they would have done that.
Well, they can't because WCW is a defunct wrestling organization that was purchased in 2001 by World Wrestling Entertainment.
By the way, for those of you listening, you got to know I set that up.
Get it off the tee.
How big a buy rate would they get for David Arquette versus Seth Green?
No.
No, it wouldn't work.
Also on Raw tonight, we saw the Apple return. Carlito came out. He attacked his brother, Primo, and took the apple out of his pocket and spat it right in his face. Never said a word. I thought it was very well executed.
Carlito's a spitter.
I believe he had a T-shirt that said something to that effect at some point. They also explained Edge's injury. For those of you that don't know, as we talked about recently, Edge was indeed injured this past weekend. Actually, I think it was last weekend. And San Diego at a house show, he tore his Achilles tendon, which obviously is a pretty painful injury. I had both mine tear once.
What?
In a match.
What? But, that does lead credence to our fantasy pay-per-view talk because Frank is here in the house, and Frank would give a ruling once they determined that Edge announced on WWE that he is injured.
Yep. They announced it and explained somewhat what would happen with the Unified Tag Team Championship. Chris Jericho will have a unnamed partner this next Sunday night at Night of Champions on pay-per-view, and he will be using that person as his tag team partner, who will become one half of the tag team champions. Now, Jericho also took advantage of the opportunity to really give a tongue lashing to Edge, saying that he knew it was going to happen. He's injury-prone, and he is going to find a better partner.
Does that set up Edge to return as a face now? Finally?
There are rumors out there on the interweb in the IWC that Edge was scheduled, if you will, to go face, go good guy in wrestling. Now, I've always much preferred Edge as a heel, especially the opportunistic heel that he has been in.
But he's been like that for how many years?
Yeah, I think the fans are waiting for Edge to have like a legitimate, I'm going to win this match in like a 30, 45-minute match where it's not, I'm going to run in the last 2 minutes and take the belt. Something where it builds him up as a champion and builds him up as a champion for a long time. And I think now with this injury, though, that's not going to happen anytime soon. But the face turn could happen, and why not? He can come back, as you remember when Triple H was hurt when he tore his quads.
The first time.
And the fans they loved it when he came back.
Poo-poo.
So in this case, maybe he's out for, Achilles could be
6 months at least.
Easily 6 months. He's still relatively young, so he could heal quick. And then he comes back and gets a pop. A welcome back thing, and they could kind of build on it.
He just returned last November, though. Let's not forget that at the Survivor Series. Remember when he went on that Eskimo thing for a couple of months? Came back with the beard.
Yep.
Let's go to the phone lines. The number 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. We've got Anthony on line 1. You're live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Oh, hey there, guys.
Anthony.
Hey, what's up, Anthony?
About the GM, I really can't think of who they can have for the next GM because there's so many possibilities. But there was an Austin Powers reference on the show.
There was.
Yeah, the big show going, it'll cost you $1 million.
But, Anthony, who would you like to see as guest host? We know it's ZZ Top next week. Ric Flair, that's Odin played.
Well, one time night, something like that.
Yeah, but what's special about it? He's been GM already.
No, he hasn't been GM. He's been owner, half owner.
Yeah.
Consortium.
And about this guest thing, I think they bring celebrities like, okay, you want to promote something? All right, you come to our show, you do whatever we ask you, and we'll help promote your product or movie.
That's what they did tonight.
Yeah.
Did you not notice WWE selling their soul much like they did to KFC a couple of weeks ago?
And they probably bring some guys like Ted DiBiase and maybe Dusty Rhodes around the time to see, okay, the fans love this guy. Let's bring him as the permanent GM.
But they didn't sell their soul on that, Frank and Damien. They didn't sell their soul. They were cross-promoting. Triple H was given an appearance on Robot Chicken and brought back to promote the whole thing.
That is true.
So,
but we did not need to see 2 promos and highlights and continued discussion about Robot Chicken all night.
Have you not watched Robot
It's
Chicken?
chicken. That's what it is. It's not barbecue. It's all about chicken on Raw.
Have you
Kentucky Fried Chicken?
It's
and Robot
Kentucky
Chicken.
Unfried chicken. It's Kentucky grilled chicken. Yeah. Have you not watched Robot
Chicken Show.
Can I talk? Can I say something?
Maybe the gobbledygooker is going to be the GM one week. Oh, that was a turkey. Wait, turkey and chicken?
And then the crossface
All right,
chicken.
so you got the turkey. You got the chicken.
And you guys asked that question earlier.
Yes, Anthony.
You guys asked the question about who is better, Hulk Hogan and John Cena. Well, it's kind of hard to tell because when they were both the top right now, it was totally different companies at the time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but there are certain comparisons that can be made. John Cena, many say, carrying WWE right now. Hulk Hogan did so for well over a decade as well. As far as overall star power, I do believe there is at least somewhat of a comparison there between those two athletes.
Yeah, true. And one more, Damien. You said that WCW is a defunct company, but Meathead's company at WCW is doing better than your WWE draft.
Huh?
Boy.
Hey,
And
now.
on that note,
I don't know what he's talking about. There is no WWE draft.
Crap.
Notice, Anthony, I've not yet named my promotion. It's building.
Which is which is backyard wrestling. Is basically what it is.
Anthony, thanks for
Anthony, thank you.
I just thought of something. This would be either this would sink WWE or it would push the envelope and make you cringe. Next, or not next week after ZZ Top, your celebrity guest host, Joe Jackson.
Oh, no, you didn't.
Wouldn't that?
Yeah, he can promote his album like he did the day after his son died. But Joe Jackson is. I was listening to that on Stern on the way.
Who's worse, Joe Jackson, Ike Turner?
Oh, Ike was entertaining. Anime?
On your ass.
Let's go to line
That
2.
make you cringe.
Joe Jackson. You know what? They're silly enough to do it.
You see, I'm thinking that
Just because controversy creates cash.
exactly.
And he would be stupid enough to do it.
Let's go to the phones, Damien.
Gianni, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, what's up, Gianni?
I know. I would think it'd be for a GM would be a good guest host. Everybody knows that he is a wrestling fan. I would say that Eminem would be a great guest host.
No.
Does he have an album coming out?
He's got an album.
Just had
Frank,
one come out.
come on.
No,
You're not hip. I get it. Frank, he's brand new. You know who actually they should have? Speaking of Eminem and Bruno, they should get Sasha to come and host.
Sacha Baron Cohen?
He would take a bump.
Yeah, he would. There'd be a lot of skin showing. There'd be a lot of because Frank again at the movie awards, Bruno accidentally laid down and put his junk, unfortunately, in Eminem's face. So
yeah. Well, there was an internet report today that said that Sacha Baron Cohen and John Cena are actually friends. Now, Bruno, I'm not sure about that. But Borat, the character Borat, that'd be fun. That'd be a good week.
No, they'd have to bring
I'd enjoy it for about a minute.
They could do Bruno now while it's hot.
that's what I'm saying.
I'm not sure how hot it is. It didn't do so. It did great this weekend,
it
but
was number one.
Because the Bruno movie is just basically the same formula
But he
as
did
Borat
have.
is.
I don't want to give away. Well, no, they talked about it where he does have some kind of wrestling thing in that movie.
they're not at a bankers convention again, are they?
No, but I guess what happens is. Well, I don't want to give the plot out. But
Please, yeah.
Frank now with movie spoilers.
Yeah. Whoop, whoop, whoop. This is a spoiler-free show.
Gianna, you're still on. Do you have anything else for us?
I also would like to say, I don't know, I'm in my mid-20s now. I've been a wrestling fan for about 13 years.
Yeah.
A minute, whatever. And I don't know if anybody else my age feels the same, but I think and I feel like how the WWE is just force-feeding me the same crap that I've already seen multiple times, year after year, and they're just pushing me away.
Gianni, during the Big Show Evan Bourne match, I said the exact same thing.
Oh, I changed the
It's
channel.
David Goliath again. I don't know. Frank, you've been a wrestling fan a lot longer than I have because you're older.
Lots older.
Has this recycling always been going on like this? So blatantly?
Because, and you've said this many times, there's a new crop of fans every year, and there's some things that some fans haven't seen. And in this case, you're watching this David and Goliath. They basically did it twice, in a way.
Twice. They've been doing it a long time.
No. Tonight I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
With Hornswoggle against
Because you needed that rematch from last week, Superstars.
Right. So it's been going on a long time. The difference is now Johnny, you've seen this, and it's you're getting frustrated.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to ask you one question. When you saw ZZ Top up there, did you know right away that was ZZ Top?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
But did I care? No.
That's the difference.
And do you care? And do you think anyone else will care about ZZ Top? I'm sorry if I missed that portion driving in, but ZZ Top has got to be in their 60s. What are they doing in WWE?
They have a new album coming out.
Who's going to watch?
But what WWE fan is going to buy a ZZ Top album?
Exactly. I'm not.
Thank you very much for that call, Gianni, here on the Pro Wrestling Report. You guys can join us as well, 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. We're talking about WWE Chicken Raw. And in the Chatmosphere, someone said I was being retarded for saying Bruno didn't do good. It dropped 40% Friday to Saturday. Movies never do that on their opening weekend if they're going to have long-term sustainability. That's a very abnormal situation. So for more explanation of this hen chicken thing, let's go to Frank Costanza. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Let me understand. You got the hen, chicken, and the rooster. The rooster goes with the chicken. So who's having sex with the hen? Talk about it another time. But you see my point here? You only hear of a hen, a rooster, and a chicken. Something's missing.
Something's missing, all right.
They're all chickens. The rooster has sex with all of them.
That's perverse.
That's perverse.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report. Jerry Stiller just explained it all. What we've seen on Raw for the last month. That's perverse.
Yeah.
Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead and the Cause, here live with you Monday, July 13th, 2009. We're talking about WWE Chicken Raw, and you can call us and speak about the program as well. The number 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. Could also join us in the PWR Chatmosphere at pwrshow.com where we are streaming live.
I still have a reflex. Did you see my face go for the mic?
Reflex?
My face went right for the microphone as you said Chatmosphere. I just went, and I'm not going to do it. Not today.
We are going to be talking about the UFC 100 event from this past weekend, dipping into MMA a little bit. There's been a lot of discussion about that, of course, with Brock Lesnar's involvement in the antics following the matchup. We're going to talk about that in the next segment, but let's take some phone calls. Again, the numbers, in case you didn't get them, 800-990-ESPN or 276-ESPN. Let's go to line one. Bowman from Boston, you're live.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, Bowman.
Bowman, what's popping?
Nothing. Joe Jackson, really?
That's Frank.
That's why we have Frank on staff.
Joe Jackson?
Frank would say things that make you...
Would you cringe?
He just likes to say things that make you
I
go,
wouldn't
what?
watch. I wouldn't watch.
Yeah, you would.
Yes, you would. Yes, you would watch.
Joe Jackson any money. I don't want to give Joe Jackson any money.
You would watch just to say, I can't believe I'm watching this right now.
I
don't know what we're yelling about.
Joe Jackson and his done-up eyebrows and promoting his Blu-ray DVD.
If the money's right, Vince would do it.
Yeah, sadly it would happen. I have a good idea for who would be a great celebrity GM.
Okay.
It'd be none other than Stan Kroenke. Bring him on.
Do you think Vince would do business with him?
No, just bring on a fake one. Tell him he has the inability to manage and fire him on TV.
Yeah, but we did something along those lines already when he had Kroenke and Vince, and you know how most, and I'm saying most, WWE fans don't want to see that garbage. I mean, I think really bring the real guy.
Do most WWE fans want to see the celebrity host doing it right now?
No, not really. They're just doing it trying to get, mass appeal, mass
I think it's
coverage.
Smart. There is something to promote. That's the thing.
Yeah, and it's smart, and it can draw viewers week to week, I think. It's smart because you don't know who it's going to be. They don't even have to name a GM yet. They can figure things out. They got all these injuries to deal with. I think the GM of Raw is probably one of their least concerns at this point, and I think this is a smart way to bridge the gap.
The Stan Kroenke thing is just more sort of doing something as a joke if they have an off week. I think that Dusty Rhodes would be really good.
Yeah.
It'd be really
another wrestler.
I think it almost should stick to wrestlers, but with maybe some known celebrities that have been involved.
Jesse Ventura.
Yeah, maybe Jesse Ventura, or
How about the governor?
Arnold Schwarzenegger wouldn't be a bad idea. I mean, but you know he's been involved in wrestling in some capacity.
Mm-hmm. Well, right now,
some connection to it.
Right now, with the state of the economy, I don't think they want to have any politician taking time off to be on.
But you want them to have Joe Jackson.
He's promoting Joe Jackson. He's not a politician by any stretch.
Frank, welcome to the show.
That's right.
Let's talk about something that I don't think even was talked about on Raw. It's called Night of Champions in like the main event. Was that even mentioned on the show at all?
It was mentioned. It was mentioned by Orton.
Is that a? Well, did they try to promote any of the WrestleMania 24 DVDs?
Or WrestleMania 25?
Well, is this a match that will make you go out and the main event? Will that make you want to go buy it?
No, unless they pull some type of swerve. I mean, I've been saying in the chat atmosphere, and I said it last week. I really think they should try to push another guy into that match randomly, and I've been picking Mark Henry. I mean, I would look at it like the easiest way to get him in the match to get fans to be sort of shocked or surprised about something, because they really need to try anything, and anything will work right now. It doesn't matter who it is, just try something.
But that's a sad state of WWE right now. They are hot-shotting everything.
But a lot of it is forced. I mean, they can't help the injury situation.
Hot-shotting.
But you could easily, assign a Raw GM for Night of Champions, let it be Tony Atlas, and then Tony Atlas puts Mark Henry in the match. Make it that simple. And
I think they've pushed away Tony Atlas at this point from Mark Henry.
They should stick to wrestlers. DiBiase proved it. Dusty would be great. Hell, even use Randy Savage, which would be disastrous.
What about in the city?
Good to see.
Here, what about in the city that they go to? Say, if Crusher were around and it came to Milwaukee, you do the Crusher. If you go to St. Louis, you say, bring up Harley Race. You know, you go from city to city and bring up, a legend.
Yeah. How about the ShamWow guy?
The ShamWow guy would be great.
Not Billy Mays. No. A lot of people think that's Billy Mays.
No, Billy Mays passed away.
Really? Thanks.
That's No, the ShamWow guy is the other guy.
The ShamWow guy's got something wrong with his eye, though. I don't know if he could be on the show.
ShamWow guy's got a lot of things wrong with him.
Wow.
So he's making money, though. Bowman from Boston, thanks for calling in here to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. The number 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. Let's go to line 2. We've got Jamie from Rochester, New York.
What's up, y'all?
Hey, Jamie, you know what? I'm reading in the chatosphere. I couldn't hold off. And you know who?
Clearly.
You know who would be a great guest host? Frank, Damien, Pete Rose.
He can cut a promo.
It's just a thing I want to talk about right quick.
Go ahead.
It's the main events in both WWE and TNA.
Okay.
Everybody jumps on WWE with their main events. I get that. But look at TNA. To me, my personal opinion, that the main event mafia, it just got stale. It's not entertaining no more.
I think they actually, in my opinion, I differ a little bit, because they put a little bit of zip into it finally, because they've actually given Kurt total control of the main event mafia, kicked Sting out, and Raleigh Fingers just hit a home run, I'm sorry, and kicked Sting out, and brought in Samoa Joe. So there's a little bit of a twist to it, but you're right, I can understand that, and especially after this pay-per-view that Damien's going to be going to live, and we're going to report right after it happens next week Sunday here on 540. I could see them winning every belt.
Yeah, but if they can split up the main event mafia, that's much more storylines they can go from right there.
That's what you think it's stale?
I don't think they needed to split it up. I think that the shift that they did, adding Samoa Joe, who knows what's going to happen with Taz, taking out Sting.
Wait,
I think
what do Taz got to do in there?
You know what? They've got there's a lot of possibilities with Taz. And we talked about it last week. We don't know what condition he's in. He might have 1 or 2 matches still on him. He may have lost all that winter weight that he had on.
Commentary weight is what we call it.
Who knows? I don't know what they're going to do with him, but I think a lot of people, I know myself, are intrigued by what they're going to use Taz for.
But, it's like if he go to TNA, people is not going to remember him from ECW. They're going to remember him as sitting
TNA
at the commentary table calling matches.
You're just talking about general fans. Yeah, TNA fans may know who he is.
TNA fans will. There's absolutely no doubt. All right, Jamie, well, thank you for that call from Rochester, New York. Let's go now to line 3. We've got Johnny from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Johnny, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Johnny, you're live.
Hello?
Hello, Johnny.
Johnny, you're live.
What do you have for us?
Oh, it's Tommy from Indianapolis.
Tommy, sorry about that.
That's okay.
from
Our
Indianapolis.
producer, it's his first day.
He's doing several things. Dragon's back in the seat, and there's a redhead walked by, and he was
furious. He was on fire about it.
It was Carrot Top.
I was just like, that's totally wrong, and I was like, are they talking to me?
We are talking to you, Tommy. What do you have?
Yeah, I was on last week. I said I made a mistake. I said you guys were the bigger Canada, you're the smaller Canada. But what I wanted to talk to you about was I think two people I would like to see on is old big fan of wrestling, Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, maybe. If they're in L.A. No, the actor, you idiot.
The golden
And if they let him smoke, Rob Van Dam. Because that would be hilarious.
Yeah, Vince doesn't like cigarettes.
Hey, well, if legislation passes, maybe they can do it.
But what I really wanted to talk to you about was I hope they let Ted DiBiase grow before they just throw him into the title bout. I mean, like, give him a shot with the U.S. title or something like that. I'm an old school fan. Well, I've been watching for almost 20 years, but I like when they get the tag titles, then get the middle title, and then get to the world title.
Yeah, climb your way up the ladder.
Yeah, climb your way up the ladder.
Rung by damned rung.
Yeah, it's just I don't like when they just immediately go up to the top. They don't prove enough. You know?
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you, John. Tommy from Indianapolis. Thank you so much for that call here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. You brought up an interesting point, which was tag teams. Is WWE really promoting a greatest tag teams DVD?
They are trying to promote it.
They don't have any.
WWE had great tag teams
back in the day,
but they weren't made by WWE.
Draw more attention to how horrible their tag team division is now?
Yes, and they weren't made solely by WWE.
You know exactly
WWE.
What they're trying to do is bring out something that the fans will watch or hopefully buy in what they're trying to do, obviously. And then, hey, remember the British Bulldogs and remember, Demolition and all of those.
Conquistadors, Strike Force.
We are in the next
Conquistadors 6 and 7.
In the next 3 to 6 months after this DVD comes out, we'll be introducing groups like this or tag teams like this, so you kind of remember what it was like.
Well, they're doing it now, so I think that might be what
they're going to try and do.
You mentioned Carrot Top earlier. There's a lot of chatter about Carrot Top in the chatmosphere. And let me tell you, you want to talk about an obnoxious person.
Very.
Until I saw his show at the Luxor in Las Vegas. It's actually very entertaining.
He's very obnoxious because he's on the gas. He needs to be tested for a wellness policy violation.
I don't think I have those in comedy.
Oh, no. Carrot Top is juicing. Oh, he's been juicing for about a minute.
I can confirm that.
The guy is
Dragon's worked up in there.
Dude, nothing to make Dragon more scared.
Run them all now.
It's a big, muscly armed redhead.
Let's go to line 1, Terry in Waukesha. You're live on the Pro Wrestling Report. Terry.
Good evening.
There you go, Terry.
Just a couple things. Enjoyed the wrestling part of Raw tonight. I don't enjoy Seth Green. He's funny, he's humorous, but I'm not very much on celebrities on wrestling. I'm not too hip on that.
Drew Carey was in the Battle Royal called the Royal Rumble for about a minute.
Guys, you're never gonna convince me of that. Seth Green, stay with what you're good at. You don't belong in the main.
Which is Robot Chicken.
Yes, exactly.
Stupid monkey.
So I thought it was good. As Ted DiBiase Jr., I say make him a face and push him to the stars. I like the way he did it against Randy Orton. I thought he was really good. I thought the match was good. I thought the back and forth was very good. And
that was a temperature check last week to see where he was at, and I can see that by easily, by Royal Rumble. I think that face change will happen.
Plus I also want to see Cody Rhodes make a face turn. I'd love to see him.
You can have a list off with Jack Swagger.
Swagger.
But
Cody Hyde's
the other
list
thing is,
much
the other
better.
thing is, guys, I was thinking about. So I was talking to a buddy of mine, and we're like, we think that WWE is just like oversaturating themselves. I mean, how many out of 5 days of over a week, not counting the weekend, WWE's on 4 of them? How can you build up Raw when you have, 3 other shows?
Right.
It's better when you had SmackDown and Raw because you had the suspense. More people would tune in.
But Terry,
Now
guess what? They're delivering 6 hours of wrestling a week, just like they did back during the Wrestling Wars.
Actually, during the Wrestling Wars, they were best off with Sunday, Monday.
Yeah, I mean,
I was thinking about that the other day when I was trying to figure out how I was going to watch the 4 hours of Thursday Night Wrestling before this show tonight. And I said it seems like there's much more wrestling on, when in reality there's about half of the wrestling on than there was at the height of the Wrestling Wars when you add in ECW and that other company. What is it called? Gone.
So I always go. I'm back to the old NWA days, guys. So WCW was good for like a minute. So
all right, Terry.
Sorry to steal your line, guy. But hey, the 2 guys. What was it? Not Bill and Ted. I don't want to say that, but your TNA guys. Where have they gone to? Are they just gone and so long? See ya.
Dragon's still working on that. He won't release the information about their whereabouts.
See, what you guys don't realize.
They brought a redhead in the studio.
Exactly. They're big fans of redheads. Dragon's been kind of blocking them on the phone.
Terry, thanks for your call. We got to take a timeout. When we come back, we're going to talk about UFC 100. We've got Martin and Dwayne on the phone as well. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Talk Brewers all day long on 540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN, streaming live at PWRshow.com. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, and the Kaz, here live with you Monday night, July 13th, 2009. What a show we've had so far. We've got the phone lines full. People still waiting to get on board. However, don't let that discourage you. You can call us at 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. Gentlemen, this past weekend, Brock Lesnar, another MMA fight with the Ultimate Fighting Championship in Las Vegas, Nevada at Mandalay Bay against Frank Mir. Fight that was...
He didn't fight Frank Mir. Yes, he did. I was trying to get you. Go ahead.
I watched the fight. Go ahead. It was a decent fight. I will readily admit, I don't watch much UFC stuff. I try to watch it on Spike TV. I've tried to get into it, but, I like theatrics. They don't have enough of it until this past Sunday. Or this past weekend, Saturday night, when Brock Lesnar cut a promo on the UFC world. Let's go to that right now and then discuss it and some comments that some people have made about his comments after the fight. Dragon, take it away.
You were very worked up even after the fight, even after you beat Frank Mir down. You still were upset and you got in his face. Tell us why you're still upset. Frank Mir had a... I told him that a year ago. I pulled that. I beat him over the head with it. All right, now you don't like promoting fights very much. You don't like talking trash. You just like going there and getting the job done. You did it. You got it done tonight. You've only had 5 MMA fights ever, and you've already avenged your 1 loss. Give us your thoughts about your future and what you expect next to the challenge to your title. I love it. I'm going to go home tonight. I'm going to drink a Coors Light. That's a Coors Light because Bud Light won't pay me nothing.
Well,
that's not even the whole interview. We have to cut it short. Yeah.
Dana White said that Brock Lesnar was straight WWE in that promo. Now, Frank Mir had said a lot leading up to this fight, talking about how Lesnar was a wrestler, he couldn't hang. Mir had beat him once before. Lesnar trying to avenge himself in this fight, and he did so in a very good victory where he just about took Mir's head off with some low punches while down on the mat.
He dominated.
The TKO, referee stopping the match. What does this do, guys? Here's the question. UFC, 1.5 million buys estimated for this pay-per-view, $5.1 million gate at the Mandalay Bay Event Center. UFC, second only to boxing, beating wrestling right now as far as pay-per-view revenues go and business goes. But is this the kind of thing that will get traditional wrestling fans more interested in UFC? And if so, is that something they need?
Nope.
I think it's a joke what Lesnar did there. I think he just kind of got lost in the moment. When you do have a microphone in it, but I mean, MMA, UFC, they'll take any money that they can get from it. They sell tickets, that's fine. But what they don't want, in my opinion, is the wrestling aspect of it. Because they just don't need it. They've built this thing on basically, brawn against brawn, and
that's not Lloyd versus Ryan,
right? And it's legitimate. There's a great fan base. It's a great thing to watch if you're a fan. You don't want the theatrics added to it. And the one thing that I've heard is before the match, there's a respect added to MMA where you tap gloves and that's all part. He didn't even do that, and that to me it's like, all right. And I could see why. Her name is slipping me at the moment.
Rena Mero.
Dana White.
Right, Dana White. Why Dana's upset about that? Because you don't bring that in here. We don't want that. Just go out there, fight.
I think
Frank,
I think he's playing both sides of the line. He's going to say publicly he doesn't want that, but privately he allows him to do it.
Here's what Jim Ross had to say.
Because it brings attention. Oh, my, that's Eric Bischoff.
Here's what Jim Ross had to say, and I quote, "Plus, let's not forget that some people genuinely enjoy being a bad bully. Lesnar, in a ring, mat, or octagon, embraces that persona. Brock may say that he did not like school, but the South Dakota farm boy is far from being a dumb jock. Lesnar has plenty of common sense and knows, as Eric Bischoff wrote, that controversy does indeed create cash." Now, Frank Mir said that Brock Lesnar is an embarrassment to the sport of MMA and that he embarrassed himself and his children. Mir has demanded a rematch and said that in this match this past weekend he was within half an inch of catching him.
Well, unfortunately, that half inch cost you a loss. So call it whatever you want. But
people are talking about it,
and that's what matters.
People are talking about it. So the reason we mentioned Eric Bischoff, by the way, for those that are listening to the show, AWA Classic is on ESPN Classic, and Eric Bischoff with a head full of hair.
Still to come tonight as we get ready to leap into hour two. We've got Mike from New York, Martin from Ogilvie, and Dwayne from Florida on the line. We'll take you after this timeout, but we're going to go in-depth on Dolph Ziggler. We're going to talk about SmackDown from last Friday night. We've got Beat the Meat, Fantasy Draft Update, the News Desk, This Week in History, a preview of TNA's Victory Road on pay-per-view, of which we will be live after, right here on 540 ESPN this Sunday night, and some controversy surrounding Hulk Hogan. Surprised by that?
Hogan.
I'm sure you're not. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. We'll be back with Hour 2 in just a few moments.
For over 10 years, the world's #1 source for professional wrestling news and information. And once again, here's your hosts, Damian Nelson, Frank Cosentino, and the man they call Meathead. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, and the Cause, here with you live Monday night, July 13th, 2009. What a hour one we had as we go into hour two here now. Remember, we are live at pwrshow.com as well, where you can join us in the chatmosphere. You can also join us on the phone lines. The number is 276-ESPN or 1-800-990-ESPN. We're also on Twitter. So if you're following PWR on Twitter, go ahead and send us your questions via Twitter as well. You can tweet us. Hey, go ahead and read those questions.
You were
on
right.
The show.
Frank is upset that I've been tweeting and he hasn't.
I think Frank tweets a lot more than you do.
Maybe he does. And by the way, if you haven't signed up to be a fan of Frank Cosentino on Facebook.
Line 2, Martin, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Martin. What's up, Martin?
Hey, just want to go back to who I'd like as a host.
Yeah.
I've heard some good ones, some not too good ones. But there are two I came up with. First one being was Don King. But that...
Is he still alive?
Yeah.
I mean...
Here's a comparison. We were talking about Joe Jackson earlier. You know, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson had to show up to this whole Michael Jackson thing, of course. Isn't there a comparison between Al Sharpton and Don King?
Why, because of the hair?
Somewhat.
No, Al Sharpton's hair is
self-promotion.
No. Al Sharpton's hair is under control.
Martin, you were saying I think that would be a good play. I doubt he'd do it, but I think that'd be a good play.
Yeah, and my second one I came up with now probably won't happen, but I was thinking maybe Dana White, but it realistically we know that's not going to happen.
Yeah, he takes himself so far away from wrestling as he should.
But assuming though, let's just assume that he wouldn't be looked down on from doing it, and he'd be willing to do it. I just felt like he has such an attitude, the attitude that would fit well with professional wrestling.
There's a funny thing about Dana White, too, and I read some of that interview that Dana White did talking afterwards, and, Dana White, I think, is a little full of himself, to be honest with you. I mean, talking about the video game deal, Damien, you read this? Mm-hmm. Where he said that EA wouldn't talk to him because he said MMA and UFC is not a legitimate show, a legitimate sport, and, pissed on it. And now the guy's, taking his ball and going home, basically.
Martin, thank you for that call. Let's go to Dwayne in Florida on line 3. Dwayne, you're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report.
What's up?
Yo. Hey, what's up, Dwayne? Hey, you're nowhere near the OBT, are you?
Huh?
You're nowhere near the OBT, are you?
Nowhere near.
Okay. Watch out.
It's probably better that way.
I was looking at that comment. I saw that Run, Charles, Run.
The new video we posted, the epic run, Charles Robinson at WrestleMania 24.
I was there live, and the whole section, I remember, was just laughing.
Yeah, we were too. Damien and I look at him go. All you saw was blonde hair flying.
DJ Flojo a run for her money.
So the thing is my question is because everybody comparing TNA to WWE for some reason. My truth is it kind of a little unfair to compare them right now?
How so?
Because think about it. Say if Raw was uninterested, it was boring, how many other shows you got to go with WWE right now?
SmackDown, ECW, Superstars.
Exactly. Now, say if Impact was boring and uninterested, you're just going to flat out say TNA sucks, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and then especially, I read this interview with Dixie Carter saying that they want to go show by show by show.
Mm-hmm. That's
going to take a while.
Or about a minute.
Yeah, because they barely beating ECW right now because ECW and Impact is flipping.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's going to take a while for them to reach Raw right now.
Yeah. Well, all right. That's a good point, Dwayne. We talked about that with, I think, Booker T when we did an interview with him on PWR Primetime and talked about how there is no comparison between two companies because you're looking at a company dating back to at least 1963 in WWE and a company dating back to 2002 in TNA. And we're going to talk about some problems TNA may be having in just a few minutes right here in this program. Dwayne, thank you for that call. Let's go to line 1. Mike from New York. You are live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Howdy, what's shaking, fellas?
Hey, Mike. Hey, Mike, you sound happy. How's it going, buddy?
I am extremely happy.
You're happy about Seth Green?
Seth Green was not bad. I mean,
See?
Yeah, I don't know why everyone's hating. I mean, you got to do what you got to do with these guys.
That's right.
But what I wanted to talk about, there's a man. I've been a wrestling fan since I would say about 1996.
Okay.
And there's a guy who's been around since then, and I've just always thought the guy was complete garbage along with tons of other people. But over the last few weeks, this man has been winning me over, and that man is Mark Henry.
Wow.
And I don't know, I don't know what they've been doing. He's been really catching me lately. I mean, tonight was awesome. I don't know if you saw how he was raising his arms and lowering them, controlling the volume of the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it was really fun. I don't know
because he was fun. It's probably the first time he's been fun. I mean, remember he was the father of a hand. He kept chasing around Lillian along with Big Vis.
Oh, God, that was great.
But, yeah, you're right. Mark Henry, there's something fresh about Mark Henry now.
This is his push. This probably his last push, and the fans are slowly starting to go his way.
I'll tell you, I won't buy him as a heavyweight champion, though, or the WWE champion. I don't buy it.
No, but maybe you could take out Kofi if Big Show doesn't get him first.
Yeah.
And just two more things before I go. I just have two recommendations for special guest GM.
Okay.
One of them is Damien. That would be someone like Nick Carter.
Yeah.
No. Damien, pump your head down.
Host.
Pump your head down.
I was the referee tonight.
He
I can be a good guest
Carter.
host.
He said Dixie Carter, not Damien.
No, he meant me the next week.
No, I said it's for you, Damien. It's Nick Carter.
Who is he?
Backstreet Boys.
Nick Carter. He knows exactly who he is.
Damien trying to play dumb.
And yeah.
My personal favorite.
I think AJ would be better, but
80s pop legend Rick Astley.
Yes. And he
Never
could rickroll everybody.
Roll. Yeah,
I like that one.
Now, this is no lie. I've got a very good friend who used to do Rick Astley concerts in her garage and charge the boys from school $0.25 to come see them.
Wow.
I am not making that up. And yes. And that's who I learned who Rick Astley was, because where I grew up, he didn't exist.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at Damien knowing where he grew up, and you're like, you know what?
Fact.
You're right.
It's a fact.
Kumo D.
All right, good night, guys.
Mike from New York, thanks for calling in. Let's go now to line 2. Ken from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You're live here on the Pro Wrestling Report. Ken, looks like Ken dropped off. The number you can call, folks, 276-ESPN or
we got Ken?
1-800-990-ESPN. Ken
from
from Milwaukee, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ken.
Kenny!
I want to side with Damien on the whole tag team division in WWE.
What tag team division in WWE?
The one that's not existing right now. I believe they had some good tag teams for a while. They had Primo and Carlito, who just broke up, and
the colons exploded.
Yeah, I thought
Copyright,
that was
D.
a
Nelson.
horrible idea. And The Miz and John Morrison were a great pair too.
Yep.
And I don't understand why WWE keeps breaking them up to form single stars, which turn out to be a little bit more mediocre. I don't think Primo's going to go many places.
He'll be future endeavored by the end of the year.
Look at WWE's tag team history over the course of the last 5 years. They have not really built or developed any tag teams they had any intention on keeping around for a long time. Look at what they tried to do. Look at what they have done. They broke up the Hardys. They broke up the Dudleys. They don't believe in tag team wrestling. No one has to tell me that. Watch the product. You can tell. They throw tag teams together when they need to put the belts on somebody, and that's it. They don't build them. They don't keep them. And as Jim Ross has said recently in his blog at jrsbarbecue.com, tag team matches will never headline a pay-per-view. There's no money in it. It's a foregone art, he says. I don't subscribe to that. I think great tag team matches can be well done. I think TNA is doing a much better job with tag teams than WWE.
I mean, how many times has TNA actually had tag team matches as their main event? Almost, we made that point a few shows ago that it was, how long ago did we have a single main event?
Yeah, I don't believe that WWE really values a lot of its other championships, whereas like TNA has a way stronger women's division. WWE kind of does whatever with the women and the cruiserweights and whatever. And the Intercontinental in U.S. seem like it's going somewhere, but I don't think they actually try to build anything else up other than the world heavyweight and the WWE title.
Right.
So I think TNA does a better job overall, but I wanted to say I want to agree with Damien on the tag team, non-existent tag team division in WWE.
Thank you for that call, Ken from Milwaukee. And moving right along, let's go to This Week in History. A couple of significant births this week. Firstly, Shelton Benjamin was born in 1954.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Butch Reed was born in 1954.
Yeah.
Sean Waltman was born in 1972 this week. And Brock Lesnar, man who we just talked about a little while ago, was born in 1977. Back in 1999, Hulk Hogan defeated Macho Man Randy Savage for the WCW Championship. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. The Blue Blazer. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540. It's the Blue Blazer, I think. Second, can you confirm?
Hey,
Thank
thanks
you.
for, by the way,
Who's the wrestling man here in this room? Who
thanks
knows
for
his
checking.
stuff?
Thanks for checking with me on what song I had ready.
Listen, he's sitting here during the break trying to ask you what you're going to play, and I say, shouldn't you tell him?
Yeah, but he wasn't even in front of the
I've been
microphone.
all night about how the Chapmansphere can pick
he
tunes.
wasn't even in front of the microphone.
How many times have they picked the tunes?
Once.
Ask you to do one thing. One thing.
Oh, I've got two
Proctor,
things going on.
Beat the meat.
Giggity! Play my drop, producer boy. I'm not doing it until I hear my drop.
Oh, you are such a child.
Thank you. Are you ready for last week's Beat the Meat, Damien?
Ready.
Who is credited for breaking Bruno Sammartino's neck in a WWF ring in 1976? Old school Frank, do you know the answer?
Macho Man Savage.
76.
76.
76?
The year you were born, Frank.
That's actually not true. I think Frank was born in 70.
Was born 71. I have am I guessing?
Go ahead. Take a shot. One shot. Legitimate shot, not Macho Man.
Is it Stan Hansen?
Stan the Man Hansen.
Frank is our resident historian.
Wow. All right, well, we were...
First, let's tell the world how they submit their answers. Then let's give the question. Then throw it back to me. Please go.
To submit an answer to Beat the Meats, all you have to do is go to www.pwrshow.com, go to the Contact Us, and just submit an answer. And I'll email it right to Damian Nelson, who I throw to now.
What's the question this week?
Well, you said throw it back to you. My question for this week
How
is...
do you throw things?
Jesus. Am I speaking Chinese?
What was the first WWF championship to change hands at a WrestleMania event? What was the first WWF championship to change hands at a WrestleMania event?
It wasn't the Divas title, was it? Let's go to the news desk. The ratings for last week saw WWE Raw score a 3.6, WWE SmackDown score a 1.6, TNA a 1.2, ECW on Thursday with a 0.7, and Superstars with a 0.8 on Thursday as well. Interesting note is on Tuesday when Sci-Fi aired Warehouse 13, it got a 2.5 rating, substantially higher than what ECW would have gotten in that time slot. I did try that show, and it's X-Files 2009.
Yuck.
John Cena reportedly got hitched last weekend.
Hey,
to a girlfriend.
To a girl? All right, awesome. Even though he last year was going out with Mickey James.
Those were vicious internet rumors. TMZ was reporting that.
Yeah.
Nick Dinsmore, who you may know as Eugene, has been re-signed with World Wrestling Entertainment to help groom younger talent.
Is he clean?
Well, I guess the wellness policy violations means you get fired, but doesn't mean for how long.
How long?
His was more than a wellness policy violation.
He had some stuff going on.
He had some other things going on, and hopefully he's cleaned his act up because, you know, he's probably a good guy.
One man who didn't clean his act up was Brian Christopher, who has been jailed again. He was arrested just today, actually. Failing to enter rehab was the reason. That was a condition of his plea agreement in last month's arrest for public intoxication. The PWR poll results at pwrshow.com for Show of the Week last week saw TNA Impact come back out on top with 51% of the votes, followed by WWE Raw with 30% of the votes, and SmackDown with 18% of the votes. A real shuffling of the top three in that particular lineup there on pwrshow.com. And every week, starting on Friday, after all the shows have aired, you can vote on the Show of the Week, and we'll give the information right here Monday night on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. However, don't forget, this Sunday, Big Daddy right after TNA Victory Road, we will be live right here on air with a TNA Victory Road wrap-up and our regular weekly show this Sunday night, 10 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. I will be in Orlando in the Impact Zone, and we'll be giving a report from the show.
It's too bad. I'd rather have you do it live from the Orange Blossom Trail.
Well, you know, it's not that far away.
Mm-hmm.
The draft.
You know, Frank, I'm about to throw to you in just about a minute, but I feel it's unfair to Damian. And when I win again this month, I may not take people from his roster anymore, and I may not pick up extra free agents because it's just not fair. Frank,
you don't want to.
The question was
throat.
Well, I want to take from him, but I don't know if I'll be picking up more free agents.
I'll stick the Baroness on you.
The question was last week if Edge is injured, and just like in fantasy baseball, football, basketball, and so forth, if he's injured, am I allowed to put him on my DL and pick up someone else? Edge is officially injured.
Yes.
Yes, I will. Okay. I will not announce that yet. My pay-per-view is actually in the can and will be put up when, Damian?
It will be up Thursday of this week at pwrshow.com. My latest fantasy pay-per-view offering was made available this weekend at pwrshow.com, so make sure you check that out as well. And then you'll have the opportunity to vote starting this weekend on who had the best fantasy pay-per-view of the month. And remember, the winner of that voting gets 2 picks.
One from the other roster.
Can be. Doesn't have to be, but can be from the other roster. And the other is a wild card.
Damian, who did you lose from your roster due to me beating you the last pay-per-view?
Well, I wouldn't call it a loss because if you take a look at what I did in the
you
pay-per-view. It all worked out perfectly. I didn't have to change my booking.
Do you understand that I actually have already planned who I'm going to take from you each month?
Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time returns to the television airwaves this Friday. It's also going to be available at pwrshow.com this Friday as well. A couple of days delayed this week due to some schedule conflicts. So be sure to check that out. And let's go to a couple of notes about SmackDown last week. WWE SmackDown on the My Network television. What did they do to R-Truth?
Pretty Ricky.
How stereotypical can WWE get?
To be honest with you, I think R-Truth came up with it himself.
I think so.
How's he going to wrestle with those teeth?
Maybe it's not about wrestling. Maybe Pretty Ricky and R-Truth are on the TV at the same time.
And R-Truth was on Superstars. The next night, he's not R-Truth anymore.
They're pushing.
But R-Truth was no, Damien. R-Truth was on SmackDown, and Pretty Ricky was on SmackDown. Pay attention to the product.
The fans like him.
They like what's up.
Yeah. And as I just said,
it was funnier when Patterson and Briscoe were trying to get into the arena at some pay-per-view event years ago.
Mr. McMahon.
Yeah. It was the same skit with just a different person.
Hey, Damien, for Raw host, and I know you've been reading the Chatosphere, but for Raw host, what if we had George W. Bush?
He's free.
Sarah Palin?
I respect George Bush.
Who's nailing?
Zero respect for Sarah Palin. I think
who's nailing Palin.com?
Just a ditz. I don't even know if she got elected governor. Well, it is Alaska.
Why don't you go back to your home on Whore Island?
Where she can see Russia.
So the Pretty Ricky thing, it again reminds me of Martin from Blue Streak. Martin Lawrence.
I'm familiar. He had that show. Martin.
No, I'm talking about the movie.
Martin. Oh, you're so crazy.
It just it was funny for about the first 10 seconds.
Here's why I'm wondering. I've been a fan for so long. 1987 was when I started really watching wrestling. We've been doing this show for 11 years, and here's the stuff I noticed. During the Rey Mysterio-Chris Jericho match, in the middle of the match, all of a sudden, I had noticed all night that JR and Grish weren't really talking. Their commentary wasn't matching up, so they did it in post, which JR said he'd never do. But they had taped 2 weeks in a row. All of a sudden, I think they cut something out. I never looked at the live reports, but the cover on the broadcast table was gone. Like, within the span of 5 seconds and 2 shots, it was gone.
Yeah.
It's like there was a table bump, but they never. This is the stuff I'm noticing. It was a great match. Another great effort by Jericho and Rey Mysterio. But this is the stuff I'm noticing. Am I looking at the wrong thing?
That's the thing that we look at when we go to live events.
Because
so I mean, you know,
how many times have we? Now, the match was good.
The match was very good. It was.
But how many times have we seen that match where now you're like,
in the last 3 months? Yeah.
How about the last 10 years? When you really think about it, they had many, many matches in WCW. So now you're like,
where?
Hey, where did that chair come from? Or what? That fan wasn't there in that front row in the beginning of the match. You know, because we've seen, we've seen it so many times.
Last week, what happened was since he somehow or another won the fantasy draft pay-per-view poll,
Damien accused all the fans of Meathead's pay-per-view of being mindless sheep.
The sheep voted for you because they don't know a good card from a bad one. They knew that they thought yours was good.
So what I've been doing, Frank, is just randomly going, bah, bah, bah.
Hey, I mean, no offense by this. A lot of people, by their own admission, who listen to this show probably are sheep.
No. You
mean
mean
all
offense.
wrestling fans are sheep.
Yeah.
Continue. There's nothing wrong with
Focus.
Bah. I'm a heel now. SmackDown I thought was a good show, though. Very solid wrestling show. A lot of wrestling. And somebody said last week on this program that there were a lot of commercials during SmackDown. I didn't really notice it until
There's commercials through every match.
Pretty much, yeah. You know what I also noticed, and I talked about this a little while ago? JR's done. He's bored. He doesn't want to be there.
We noticed that a while ago, though.
No, doesn't want to be there at all. You can tell. Watch anything he did before, I'd say before Grisham came around, probably when he was working with Taz, when he was actually probably having his best time on SmackDown, and then watch his Raw stuff. And you could
he had fun with Taz.
People give a lot of good nonverbals. When I saw Christian backstage in TNA just before he left the company, and I came back and I said what? Christian's not happy. Something's not right. He did not want to be there, and he was just going through the motions. I get the same feeling from Jim Ross after watching him in great depth, the live SmackDown here in Milwaukee. He just doesn't want to be there.
Well, again, the thing is, though, Frank, that JR is supposed to be the color commentator. Grisham is supposed to be play-by-play. JR doesn't want it, isn't having it.
Right. That's part of it. The other part of it is when you're doing a live show such as Raw, there's more of a spontaneity to it. You can watch, you know it's going to happen. You have the script in front of you for the most part. But on SmackDown, hey, you know, if I make a mistake here, they'll probably fix it. You become lazy at that point. Now factor in that he's with Grisham, it doesn't fit, and he becomes bored. That's why some wrestlers, you've seen it many times when a wrestler will come out and do a promo, and then they'll come out later and have to cut it again.
Yeah.
Because we'll believe they'll fix it. On Raw, you can't do it. You're there, it happens, it happens. They do have the 7-second delay, but even that, it'll just look bad. So that you do become lazy knowing that if I do make a horrible mistake here, they'll be able to fix it.
Let's go to the phone lines. We've got Nathan, who's been holding patiently for quite a while here. Nathan, you're live on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN.
Hello, guys. How you doing?
Hey, what's up, Nate?
Oh, nothing much. I have to ask this question. Did you guys watch, I know it's not wrestling related, but did you guys watch UFC 100?
I did not.
I watched the Lesnar-Mir match. I didn't watch the whole show.
Oh, yeah, I watched that match. And I watched at the end how Brock Lesnar was trying to be like a heel type person.
Yeah.
And I have to ask you guys, you know it was a stupid move on Brock Lesnar because I don't think that the UFC is sort of WWE based.
Well, Nathan, we actually talked about this at length earlier in the program. You may be tuning in late, but make sure you pick up the show on iTunes. Subscribe on iTunes. Go to pwrshow.com where you can do that and find out what our comments were about Brock Lesnar and Frank Mir from this past week on UFC 100. But let's talk about TNA. They've scaled back some of their pay-per-view events on the road. Everything but Bound for Glory for the balance of the year is going to be in the Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida. Still doing live events, but here's the question, gentlemen. This is a change in direction from where they were looking to do most, if not all, of their pay-per-views on the road this year, and now they've scaled back that effort tremendously, including the fact that they are still doing a lot of house shows, and they've got a big overseas tour coming up as well. But how good is that business? And we have heard reports that there have been as few as 300 to 400 fans at some of the events, as many as 1,000. Certainly they do great in the UK. They've had some of the biggest crowds over in the UK. But is this a sign of trouble for TNA? If they can't, with a national audience of nearly 2 million viewers a week, that they can't draw in some of these smaller towns they're going to more than Ring of Honor, who doesn't have that national exposure?
No. Because Ring of Honor has built a base. TNA hasn't built a base. There may be a national audience, but TNA hasn't built a local base yet. Ring of Honor has gone out and built a local base in these cities. They've continually gone to these cities over and over. Chicago Ridge, Illinois. Ring of Honor is huge there because you know what? Those fans know when they're coming. They show up. They drive in. They do whatever they got to do. TNA is still growing and trying to go from different city to different city and starting a brand new base. So.
But on average, if you look at the attendance for both beds as far as house shows and live events, they're drawing about the same. No matter the venue, no matter the city, they're drawing about the same, no matter how many times Ring of Honor has been there. So you can't compare it to WWE. We talked about that earlier. But TNA certainly has made a conscious decision to not go on the road so much with their pay-per-views. Keep in mind, folks, there's a lot of money wrapped up in that. Satellite trucks, production. You're dealing with unions. You're dealing with building rentals. You're dealing with all the travel. It is a huge undertaking. It's so smart for them to do Impact each week from Orlando, Florida. The thing you suffer when you do that, though, the thing that suffers when you do that are the fans. Last week's Impact was a great a clear evidence of that because the fans weren't into most of the matches or cared about most of the talents, and that's a problem. Because sometimes, if you look at some of the better WWE events, what has made them good? Obviously the presentation, the production, but also the fan reaction. When fans are dead, what does that do? Makes the whole show dead. So, Meathead Frank, actually, what does this mean for TNA? Is this a sign of trouble?
No, it could be a sign of just cutting back right now. Because one of the things that you got to look at from a wrestling aspect, when you do most of the shows in town, in the same place, it's keeping the wrestlers fresh. They don't have to travel on a week-to-week basis. They know that they're in their area. If they have family, you know what, I have a 2-year contract. If they're 2 years. If you're single, you don't have to worry about it. But you're fresh. You don't have to worry about getting your travel, getting your car, how do I get there? I know that we're going to wrestle at this time, and it keeps them fresh. From this point, cutting down a pay-per-view, I think part of it is that factor. I don't want our wrestlers to get worn down, especially since these main eventers who have done this for a long time, even though it's like, well, we understand the rigors of traveling. It's the rigors of traveling. These guys have done it. Oh, my God, I got to get the thing, and Mick Foley, and is he going to get there on time and stuff like that. So you factor that in. It's 2 or 3 different reasons. One of them also is from a financial aspect. Let's keep things close.
Yeah.
I don't think they're in trouble, but
they're probably just being smart with the money.
Exactly, because if they weren't making money, they'd be off the air immediately. They'd fold it up, because that's what companies are doing these days. They must be making enough, and now they're being smart, as you just mentioned, me. But let's just scale it back a little bit. Right now, it is the summer, and take advantage of it when people may have more of a disposable income.
Again, I don't think there's anything to worry about in TNA right now because, again, they spoke about their TV numbers continually going up. And, we heard Kevin Nash say once in a program that WWE is a TV company. Excuse me, WWE was a wrestling company. WCW was a TV production. And that's where WCW used to kill them. They just started putting on bad TV over and over and over and over and over and over and over. So is that what TNA is? Is TNA a wrestling company or are they a TV production? I think they're both, and I think they're just, again, being smart with the money.
It could be a smart business move, especially when you get the heat that you got for the Slammiversaries of the world, where you offer tickets for $7 going to a huge market. Well, not as huge as it once was, actually, Detroit. Don't draw as many.
Detroit's broke. They've got no money there.
Everything about it's broke. This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. When we come back, in-depth, Dolph Ziggler.
Kenny, Johnny, Ned, Dickie, Mikey, and we are the Spirit Squad.
Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. We're live Monday night, July 13, 2009. Davey and Nelson, they call Meathead on the cause. And it's time to go in depth on Dolph Ziggler.
Wait, a.k.a.
Nick Nemeth is his real name, formerly
Mickey
of the Spirit Squad. How many of you knew that?
I did not think about it, though.
Wait, hold on. I did not know that.
We were talking about SmackDown from last week, and this is the reason why we're going in depth on Dolph Ziggler. He's clearly getting a push in WWE, clearly entering a program now with Rey Mysterio, and has been clearly impressive in the last few weeks, especially his match with John Morrison.
Yeah, he's got that Billy Gunn look. I think he really does.
Wait a minute. Is that good? Or?
That's a good thing. I'm talking about a young Billy Gunn. I'm talking
Not
about
Rockabilly?
No. I'm talking about that mustache was unbelievable. And I'm a big fan of Movember, but that mustache just had to go. No, I'm talking about King of the Ring Billy Gunn. I'm talking about a good-looking guy that can go in a ring.
He's got that it factor already.
There's something special about him.
Yeah, and I could see him in a good year. Matter of fact, I said this when we were at the show when he was there. I could see him in about a year if they continue his push and he builds that fan base. He could be.
And then at a certain show that we were at afterwards on a Friday, we said, let's just hope he doesn't look like that guy. It's okay. What I said down the road, kind of like the wrestler in the ring.
Oh,
Nemeth Ziggler first appeared in WWE on Raw in 2005. That was a short visit. He was back on Raw in 2006. Was part of the Spirit Squad, and we all remember how interesting that group was, which featured some other people who got singles pushes, including
Kenny.
He is a former World Tag Team Champion, though, because remember the Spirit Squad were the
Tag Team Champions, all 5 of them. The best part was they brought the little, the catapult, the trampoline. I love that because you could do so many different things. It's just like an extension of the wrestling ring.
He is from Ohio, and again made that debut in WWE several years back. Now back as Dolph Ziggler, and even as Dolph Ziggler, his role has metamorphosized. He's no longer introducing himself.
Hi,
but he's
I'm
still
Dolph
cocky.
Ziggler.
He's still arrogant, and certainly now a much better character. He doesn't really say much. He doesn't really need to because he's been delivering in the ring, and that's how I noticed him.
Yeah, and he's that guy that WWE is crossing their fingers with that can continue this continue the mini push, see how it works out, so they can say, you know what, here's a guy we can bring up most likely after WrestleMania next year, or a potential Money in the Bank kind of guy, where he wins something like that, and now you've got your solid push.
Maybe he beats Ray. Because Ray doesn't have a match at Night of Champions yet, right?
Well, they keep telling us over and over that every WWE title will be defended.
Oh, it will be.
It won't be.
It will be.
It won't be.
It
because,
has to be.
No, it doesn't have to be. They just have to have every match a title match.
But if this also continues with it, and maybe Money in the Bank isn't a way, the surprise Royal Rumble winner.
Yeah.
That's a stretch, Frankie boy.
Now think about it. It's July now.
Yeah.
Royal Rumble.
A lot could happen in 5 months.
That is a stretch.
Well, but a lot could happen. Did you ever think Ray would win it? Did you ever think Vince McMahon would win
it? Yes.
Ray was pushed towards it. Hacksaw Jim Duggan would win it.
Hacksaw Jim Duggan was a viable wrestler back then. He was the first ever Royal Rumble winner.
I think Dolph Ziggler's got a lot of potential. And I think over the course of the next few months, I would expect to see that match between him and Ray at Night of Champions. And maybe he takes the title. Doubtful, because they can probably stretch that program over a couple of months, if not longer, between the two of them. Because who's Ray going to go on to next?
David and Goliath thing. Kane's back.
Yeah, probably. So I'm intrigued.
We're laughing,
to see what
but
they
it's
do.
the truth.
I'm intrigued to see what they do with Dolph coming up over the course of the next few weeks. Let's go to the VI3. Each week we pick the top 3 names of professional wrestling: a singles competitor, a female competitor, and a tag team competitor. And we always start with he who is least prepared. That is the man they call Meathead.
I want to question that little thinking right there, because Meathead has a laptop in front of him, and Frank does not. So how can I be the least prepared? Hey, producer boy, red-haired lover, my single wrestler of the week.
Right, and what that was,
we'll go
folks, was stalling. That's what that was, classic stalling. Nobody was giving him the stretch sign. That was stalling.
Folks, I have it picked. They just keep talking over me. AJ Styles is my single wrestler of the week. My female goes out to Mickey, looking great with only half of her clothes on.
She had a great match on Raw. Oh.
Yeah, I watched. Thanks. And my tag team going out to the tag team of Chris Jericho and Edge, even though Edge no longer wrestling.
Frank Cosentino, the Cos.
Well, I'm trying to think of a tag team right now.
Just think of TNA. They got the tag team.
Stay LAX.
It's not even worth thinking about WWE.
Stay
LAX. But this is very important for this week. So I'm going to throw in Seth Green.
Frank, why do you do such things? It's your list and all, but...
Again, you talk about who's least prepared, and you always say me. It's Frank.
And my ladies will go to Awesome Kong.
That's because of the red shorts, isn't it?
Ew.
Fair enough.
The definitive VI3, the one all of you tuned in to listen to this week. Top spot for me goes to Chris Jericho, Y2J. Tag team spot goes for, I think, the 48th week in a row, Beer Money Incorporated. And the female spot goes to Angelina Love, the former TNA Knockouts champion.
Nice little segment there. You know,
that was well played. They delivered that pretty well.
Yeah, I think so too.
So that's the VI3. Now, we talked earlier about some controversy surrounding our favorite.
Is it going to create cash?
Well, it could, because he is dear friends with Eric Bischoff. But Hulk Hogan. Lots of web buzz last week about Hulk Hogan considering going to TNA, quote unquote.
Why?
Here's where it came from.
Hulk Hogan was already in TNA once.
He did an interview, and here's what he said. And he's talking specifically on TNA's future, and I quote, "If you look at history, everyone says history repeats itself. With all the choices in the universe of entertainment, I look at the big package and look at the big picture from 40,000 feet. I see history repeating itself. I see TNA getting strong. I see Vince McMahon being impeccable except for a few little holes in the boat. TNA is lacking that one momentum-shifting move, that one big name that would even the playing field, the brand that is, just as powerful as the WWE brand. TNA's lacking that big piece of the puzzle. It wouldn't matter who did what in the past. It would be a totally even playing field. You never know.
Hulk Hogan is not the name that would change the scope of TNA versus WWE. Enough said.
I agree. And here's the problem with TNA. We brought this up before with production. The production that comes out of it, there's an atmosphere that you're trying to get when you're watching wrestling on TV. And when you're watching it from the Impact Zone, it reminds you of something that WCW did for many, 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 many years. It's like Disney kind of put it together. When you bring in a Hulk Hogan, that really doesn't fit. You need the arena atmosphere, in my opinion, to make it work. If he comes out into the Impact Zone, it loses his luxer.
No, here's my question to that point.
If Frank gets past your bedtime,
if Sting wasn't there, if Sting were rumored to be coming into TNA, would you say the same thing?
Sting is not the name. Sting is not the name that puts it over the top.
No, I'm not saying it is, but just to Frank's point, just a moment ago, would you say the same thing about Sting? Would you assume Sting would need to be that same person who's in front of those huge audiences and is that big a star, where whether him being a part of the company is that tipping moment or not, but you would say the same thing about Sting, you're saying?
Yeah.
But Sting is there.
Think about it. Mick Foley right now, when he's in there, it's different than from a Raw or a SmackDown for that matter. That atmosphere isn't there because you're in a little studio. It's so different.
But here's the thing. From Hulk Hogan's comments in that interview, where do you get that he's going to TNA?
Nowhere.
And that's what the Internet ran with over the course of this last week, is that he's going to TNA, and that was the headline all over the place. Clearly, that's not what he said. However, he did go on to elaborate about his current physical condition in another interview with the Chicago Tribune this past weekend, and we'll go to that when we come back here on the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.
Get the latest scores and news on your favorite teams, plus insider information, upcoming interviews, and more. Join the 540 ESPN Text Club. Log on to ESPNMilwaukee.com to sign up.
I thought he was in The Hangover. I was wrong, though. It was Mike Epps.
Please!
This is the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. Damian Nelson, the man they call Meathead, and the Cause. Just before we took that time out, we were talking about Hollywood, Hulk Hogan, and we talked about the rumors of him hinting, quote-unquote, that he was going to TNA. Well, this past Friday at Hulk Hogan Appreciation Day in Bridgeview, Illinois, he had the following comments for the Chicago Tribune, and I quote, reference him making a comeback, and I quote, about every third person was saying, when are you going to get in the ring again? They don't realize that, even though I look the same way I looked 30 years ago, kind of, my body is pretty beat up. It's kind of hard to explain to them. The hip replacements, the back surgeries, the elbow surgeries, the shoulder surgeries, I never like to say never, but right now I'm on the rebuild and rewind process. He goes on to say he's having a lot of difficulties even standing. He's got to use a chair to shave, blah, 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 blah. But Hulk Hogan is a great manipulator, and he can spin a story as good as anybody else. And remember, he used TNA to get more money out of WWE. Remember when he was coming to TNA and Jeff Jarrett hit him with the guitar in Japan? Mm-hmm. That was all a ploy, folks. That was all for him to use leverage against WWE to get more money for an appearance and a return there. Speaking of TNA, this Sunday it's Victory Road on pay-per-view from the Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida. Let's go over the card. Sharmel's going to be getting in the ring, going up against Jenna Maraska. I enjoy seeing Sharmel perform.
Not me.
Daniels, who may have suffered a knee injury, is going to be going up against Matt Morgan, the Blueprint Matt Morgan.
Man, I'm liking Matt Morgan week by week.
He's genetically jacked.
Yeah.
I wonder, is he a genetic jackhammer, though?
Genetic jackhammer. Grapefruits.
Matt Morgan was at UFC 100, by the way.
Okay.
Samoa Joe takes on Sting. And I believe this Sunday at Victory Road we will see and we will find out who Samoa Joe's mentor has been.
Yeah.
Advisor has been.
Rumored to be
Taz.
Yeah. With 2 Z's, by the way.
We'll survive if he lets us.
Or is it 1 Z?
He went to...
1 Z?
2 Z's in WWE, so it'll be 1
Z.
Yeah.
Hey, now.
A singlet, yeah.
The Legends Championship will be on the line as AJ Styles takes on Kevin Nash.
This pay-per-view is packed.
Yeah, it's what?
It's packed.
This is actually one of the weaker cards
Kevin
we've had in
Nash.
a while.
Kevin Nash can't physically go, but AJ...
but
no,
he can go.
But AJ Styles will cover up that match.
Right.
Yeah.
Should be a good match.
Because Nash will
Who
sell.
walks out with the Legends belt?
Nash. I think Main Event Mafia takes all the
belts. Which
belts.
was more of a prop, the Legends title or the $1 Million Championship?
The Legends title is actually defended on occasion.
$1 Million belt was defended.
Not for real. I mean, yeah, there was a time when...
Remember when Hacksaw won it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember?
Tag Team Championships will be
Enough
on
of
the
that.
line as Beer Money defends their straps against Scott Steiner and Booker T.
If Black Snow wins, that means he won't be on commentary anymore.
Well, that should be a good match. I think Beer Money, it makes the most sense for them to walk out with the straps.
Yeah.
However, this is set up for the Mafia to have just about every title.
It is.
I don't think they get every one of them.
Remember when Kurt Angle had every
Well,
title?
they don't have a girl in a match.
Yeah, they do. Jenna.
Girl in a title match?
Oh, correct.
So Charmel's
the
not in
knockout
that...
belt not even being defended?
I don't know.
Maybe it'll be a last-minute ad this Thursday.
That might be, yeah.
Kurt Angle versus Mick Foley for the World Heavyweight title.
Kurt Angle comes out on top.
Yeah, he should.
Why?
Because Kurt Angle is a believable champ, unlike Mick Foley. Even though Mick Foley is more entertaining. You know, when he defends the belt at Bound for Glory.
What do you think?
2010.
What do you think Mick Foley's family is thinking? Like, Mick, why?
He's bored at the house.
Why? Mick, why work 4 days a month with
No.
TNA? Because that's what he's doing?
No.
He's bored at the house.
I mean, because he could be in TNA and they'd probably give him other stuff. But I don't think he needs to wrestle.
No. He only bumps once a month.
But he's in the main event here, basically.
He bumps once a month. I mean, that's more than you do.
No, I think he does. I think he does need to be wrestling.
To stay in
shape? No, it's difficult to put into words, but I do think his wrestling certainly is adding to the overall product. Should it be main event matches? I don't think so.
No. Mick on the microphone adds.
Does it hurt TNA? Right. Does it hurt TNA at all? And I don't think it does. So given that, why wouldn't it?
No, I just don't think he needs to wrestle anymore. Because we're all, the fans that know Mick Foley are waiting for, hey, Mick, you going to jump off something again? Well, no.
He almost did that at...
he used it at Slammiversary.
Yeah. Slammiversary, yeah.
But he'd be risking... Yeah, he will do just fine doing many other things in TNA than getting in the ring, in my opinion.
But they've been there. I mean, they did that when they brought him in. You know, it's almost like we were talking about the comparison between Hogan and Cena, and most people agree that neither are Bret Hart-style wrestlers or as good as Bret Hart was as far as wrestling goes.
Even though he's got pure evil in his eyes.
He's pure evil. I've looked into his eyes. But Mick Foley adds a certain dimension of entertainment to the match and to the overall product of TNA. And I think a lot of fans recognize him as a former WWE superstar. So I think it helps TNA much more than it hurts.
But more people remember him as pushing the wrestling envelope in the matches, and now it's he can't do any kind of wrestling instead of just punch, kick.
Well, that's TNA Victory Road this Sunday night on pay-per-view. As I said, I will be in the Impact Zone. We will have a live show this Sunday night right after TNA Victory Road. We want to thank all of our callers and thank everyone for joining us here on the radio, 540 ESPN, until Sunday night. For the man they call Meathead and the Cause, this is Damian Nelson saying so long, and we'll see you after Victory Road.